174. We previewed it at the top of the show just because Cael Sanderson had his press conference. And again, it seemed cautiously optimistic with Carter Starocci's a fighter. He's a warrior. He's as tough as nails, but you can only, you know, right. It's kind of the same thing with, in the case of like Father Time, right? You can only outrun Father Time for so much. It's the same thing. We're all human. We're going to suffer injuries, bumps and bruises along the way, and some of them more serious than others here. It seems like the game plan at 174, Penn State doesn't need Carter Starocci to win a Big Ten tournament as a team. The focus is not on the winning streak, not a Big Ten title, but the NCAA title here. And from what we're gathering here is that they're going to possibly take, more likely than not, the Jason Nolf approach, wrestle Carter Starocci, have him default at some point so that he qualifies as an at-large for the NCAA championship. So, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong here, because still I want to understand this, and I know the viewers, the listeners want to understand this too. Where can Terrell Barraclaw factor into this tournament at all based on what they have planned for Carter Starocci? It's basically they're punting at 174, right? Is that what we're going for here?
Yeah, unless something happens between now and the Big Ten tournament, like some kind of freak thing with Carter Starocci, I don't think. I mean, Barraclaw will go to the Big Ten tournament as a warm-up partner. But Carter Starocci, barring something unforeseen, is going to be the entrant for Penn State at 174. I think that the question is, and I don't think we're going to get an answer here until the guys actually walk out on the mat, and then we see what happens. To me, what I'm expecting is one of two things: either Carter Starocci wrestles one bout and tries to get the win under his belt, tests the knee a little bit, gets a little bit of a feel, and then medically forfeits out the rest of the way. And, ideally would get the win in that first bout and then medically forfeit out to 6th place. Or he steps on the mat for 1 second and then injury defaults that first bout and then medically forfeits out and just gets the at-large bid. I will be, I guess, very pleasantly surprised, but very surprised if Carter Starocci wrestles more than a bout at the Big Ten tournament. I just don't think you get into a risk-reward thing, and I don't think there's much of a reward there for wrestling beyond. I mean, even if you go out and end up winning the Big Ten title, I just think the risk there of aggravating that injury, even if you're not injuring it any further, I just don't see the practicality of that. Now, again, maybe I'm proven wrong and he goes out there and wrestles and looks great and wrestles the whole way through. But what I'm expecting is, again, one of those two scenarios. Either he tries to wrestle one whole bout and get a win. And again, at any point, I'm guessing if that's what they're trying to do, it'll be, hey, if you feel anything that doesn't feel quite right, or you're just not trusting what you're feeling out there, stop. We'll work on it. We got a couple more weeks to continue to go with it. Or that they just, we know what we need to do, and we need you continue to work in the room for a couple of weeks. Let's just do 1 second. So I think those are the two scenarios that I'm expecting one of those to play out. Either he tries to get through one entire bout, or just goes out for a second and says, we'll see you in Kansas City in a couple weeks.
Then if we're just looking generally, right, from the Big Ten angle of it, so forget the Penn State side of it, and so you don't want to risk anything with Carter Starocci, but 174, I mean, is a good class, but Carter Starocci healthy, or if he was forced to wrestle all the way through, right? I think he's still the favorite, regardless of what he has lingering in terms of an injury status. Shane Griffith is as close as it gets. Again, that's a former NCAA title, right? I think he could be considered one of the proponents of saving the Stanford wrestling program, and then he ultimately transfers to Michigan, right? Yeah. Besides the point here, but Patrick Kennedy at number 3, Edmund Ruth at number 4, Rocco Welsh, I think, is an up-and-coming wrestler at number 5, and Jackson Turley at number 6 of Rutgers. Those are all talented wrestlers, but it's still Starocci and then it's Griffith, and then it's kind of everybody else. I don't think any of those other seeds are close to Griffith, let alone Starocci here.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think Starocci is kind of in a class by himself. I think Griffith is, nationally on that next line with Mekhi Lewis. And then, then I think there's a group there probably headed up in the Big Ten by Patrick Kennedy, but I don't think there's much separation there between Kennedy, Ruth, and Welsh. In my mind, those are the next group. And again, it's not a wide separation, but to me, it is a clear separation.
It's clear.
Healthy Starocci, then I think you're down to Lewis and Griffith. And then, again, I think there's a group, including at least those three in the Big Ten with Patrick Kennedy, Edmund Ruth, and Rocco Welsh, who I agree, Zach, I think he's a guy to keep your eye on here in the postseason in terms of a guy that could surprise and open some eyes a bit with his performance, both at Big Tens and certainly at NCAAs in a couple of weeks.